I still remember the sound of her car pulling away that November morning. It was a gray Honda Civic with a dented bumper, and she didn't look back. Not once. I stood on the porch holding Danny's hand. He was 6 years old then, small for his age, with dark hair that fell into his eyes and a way of looking past you rather than at you. He didn't cry. He just stood there, rigid as a fence post, humming a tune I didn't recognize. My sister Jennifer had always been restless. Even as kids, she was the one climbing out windows, sneaking to parties, chasing something none of us could see. I was the steady one, the boring one, she used to say, not cruelly, but as a simple fact. I worked at the county library, drove the same route to work every day, ate oatmeal for breakfast. When she got pregnant at 23, I wasn't surprised she struggled. When Danny was diagnosed with autism at 4, I watched something in her break. "I can't do this anymore, Marcus," she said that morning, her voice flat and exhausted. "I've tried. God knows I've tried. But I'm drowning. I'm 29 years old, and I feel like I'm 80. I need to figure out who I am before there's nothing left of me." She said she'd be back in a few months. She said she just needed to clear her head, maybe stay with her friend Kara in Colorado, find work, get her feet under her. She said Danny would be better off with someone stable, someone patient. "You're good with him," she said. "Better than me." I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her she was his mother, that you don't just leave your kid with your brother because things get hard. But I looked at Danny, at the way he was already stimming, flapping his hands in that particular rhythm that meant he was getting overwhelmed. And I knew that whatever I said, she'd already made up her mind. Some people run toward their problems. Some people run away. Jennifer had always been a runner, so I took him in. I told myself it was temporary. That was 14 years ago. The first year was brutal. I won't lie about that. Danny didn't speak much, mostly echolalia, repeating phrases from TV shows or things he had heard days before. He had routines that couldn't be broken. Breakfast had to be at 7:15, never 7:20. His socks had to be put on in a specific order. If I moved a book on his shelf, he'd know, and the meltdown would last hours. He'd scream until his voice went hoarse, bang his head against the wall, and I'd sit there helplessly, trying to hold him without restraining him. My own heart breaking into smaller and smaller pieces. I read everything I could. I joined online forums, attended workshops, learned about sensory processing and proprioceptive input and the importance of visual schedules. I turned my spare bedroom into his room, painted it the pale blue he seemed to prefer, bought blackout curtains and a weighted blanket. I learned to spot a meltdown before it peaked, to recognize when he needed space and when he needed pressure. My friends stopped calling. I stopped dating, not that I'd been doing much of that anyway. My life became Danny's life. Wake up, get him ready for school, go to work, pick him up from the special education program, come home, make dinner, help with homework, bedtime routine. Collapse, repeat. Some nights I'd sit in my own room and just stare at the ceiling, wondering if Jennifer was thinking about us, wondering if she felt guilty or relieved or nothing at all. She called twice that first year. Once at Christmas, a brief, awkward conversation where she asked how he was doing and promised she'd visit soon. Once in April, drunk, crying, saying she missed him, but she still wasn't ready. After that, silence. Danny's school wanted to hold him back. They said he wasn't making progress, that he'd never be able to integrate into a mainstream classroom. I fought them. I don't know where I found the energy, but I fought them. I hired an advocate, attended every IEP meeting, pushed for services. I learned that the world isn't built for kids like Danny, and if you want them to have a chance, you have to be louder than everyone else. But here's what they didn't see. Danny was brilliant, not in the way schools measure brilliance, with tests and grades and social skills. but brilliant in his own way. He noticed things, patterns, numbers. He could tell you what day of the week any date fell on, past or future. He memorized entire episodes of nature documentaries and could recite facts about animals with perfect accuracy. He taught himself to read by age 5, before the diagnosis, before anyone thought to teach him dot by the time he was 8. I realized he wasn't just memorizing, he was understanding. He'd sit with National Geographic magazines and study maps, tracing coastlines with his finger, whispering the names of countries. He'd watch videos about space and ask questions I couldn't answer. Questions about quantum mechanics and the speed of light and whether time was real or just something humans made up to feel less scared. What do you think? I'd ask him. He'd rock back and forth, thinking, his eyes focused on something I couldn't see. Time is like water, he said once. It flows, but it's all still there somewhere. We just can't see it all at once. He was 9 years old. Middle school was hard. Kids can be cruel, and even though Danny was in inclusion classes with support, he stood out. He didn't understand sarcasm. He took things literally. When someone told him to break a leg before his science presentation, he looked terrified and refused to go on stage. He came home with bruises sometimes. Not often, but enough. He couldn't always tell me what happened. His language was better, but still concrete, still limited when emotions were involved. I'd see the marks and feel a rage so deep it scared me, but I couldn't fight every battle. I could only teach him what I could. Some people don't understand you, I told him one night as we sat in the kitchen, a bag of frozen peas on his shoulder where someone had shoved him into a locker. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. You're just different. And different isn't bad. Different is hard, he said quietly. Yeah, I agreed. It is. Do you wish I was normal? The question hit me like a punch. I put down the dishcloth I'd been holding and looked at him, really looked at him. He was 12 years old, small and thin, his hair still falling in his eyes, his hands folded in his lap in that precise way he had. My nephew, my son, every way that mattered. No, I said. I don't. I wish the world was kinder, but I wouldn't change you. He nodded slowly, processing. Then, so quietly, I almost missed it. I'm glad I live with you. I had to turn away so he wouldn't see me cry. High school was when everything changed. Danny had always loved numbers. But it wasn't until his freshman year that a teacher really noticed. Mr. Brennan taught advanced mathematics, and Danny had somehow tested into his class despite everyone's doubts. Brennan was old school, gruff, the kind of teacher who didn't believe in coddling. But he saw something. He called me in for a conference 3 months into the semester. Your son, he said, leaning back in his chair, is solving problems I didn't expect him to solve. Problems some of my seniors can't solve. Problems I'm not sure I could solve at his age. I didn't know what to say. Danny had always been good with numbers, but I'd assumed it was just part of his autism, the pattern recognition, the ability to calculate things quickly. I didn't realize it was more. I want to enter him in a competition, Brennan said. Regional Math Olympiad. I think he could place. Danny didn't just place. He won dot at 15. He was recruited by a summer program at MIT at 16. He published a paper on number theory with a professor who'd mentored him. At 17, he was accepting early admission to Stanford with a full scholarship. I watched it all happen in a daze. My boy, the one who couldn't tie his shoes until he was 9, who had meltdowns over unexpected changes, who had been written off by so many people, was being called a prodigy. A genius. He was still Danny, though. Still needed his routines. Still struggled in loud places. Still didn't always understand why people said things they didn't mean. But he was happy. He was thriving, and I was so proud I could barely breathe. Jennifer came back the week before. Danny left for Stanford. I was in the garage, helping Danny organize what he'd need for the dorm when I heard the doorbell. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, there she was. She'd aged. Not badly, but noticeably. Lines around her eyes, gray threading through her dark hair. She was thinner, dressed well professional. She looked like someone who'd gotten their life together. "Hi, Marcus," she said. I couldn't speak. For a moment, I just stared at her, this woman who'd been my sister, who disappeared so completely she'd become more ghost than person. "Can I come in?" she asked. I stepped aside. Danny was still in the garage. I led her to the living room, my mind racing. She sat on the edge of the couch, nervous, twisting her hands. "I know it's been a long time," she started. "I know I don't deserve to just show up, but I've been following him, Marcus. Following Danny. I saw the article about Stanford, about the scholarship. I'm so proud of him." Something hot and sharp rose in my chest. "You're proud of him?" She flinched. I know I wasn't there. I know I left, and that was. I was in a bad place, Marcus. I was drowning. I had to save myself by abandoning your son, by making sure he was somewhere safe. Her voice rose, defensive. "You were always better with him than I was. You know that. I couldn't give him what he needed. So you gave him nothing instead." She looked away. "I called. I sent money when I could." "You called twice in 14 years, Jen? Twice?" Silence filled the room. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. "I'm better now. I have a good job in Seattle. I'm stable. I'm sober. I've been in therapy. I want to be in his life again. Now that he's successful, that's not fair. You don't get to talk about fair." I stood up, needing to move, needing space. "You don't get to leave for 14 years and then walk back in because it's convenient. He's my son. No." The word came out harder than I intended. He's my son. I raised him. I was there for every meltdown, every IEP meeting, every time someone bullied him or misunderstood him or wrote him off. I was there when he learned to ride a bike, when he spoke his first full sentence, when he won that math competition and didn't understand why everyone was clapping. Where were you? She was crying now. I made a mistake. I know I did. But I want to make it right. You can't. Some things can't be fixed by just showing up. I'm not trying to replace you, Marcus. I just want to know him. I heard footsteps behind me. Danny stood in the doorway, looking between us, his expression unreadable. "Who is that?" he asked. Jennifer stood up, her face hopeful and terrified. "Danny, hi, I'm your mom." He stared at her for a long moment. "I know," he said finally. "I remember you." "You do? You left?" The words hung in the air, simple and devastating. Jennifer took a step forward. "I did, and I'm so sorry. I was young and scared, and I made the wrong choice, but I'm here now. I want to be part of your life if you'll let me." Danny looked at me. I could see him processing, that analytical mind, working through the situation like it was a problem to solve. But this wasn't math. This was Messier. "Do you want me to let her?" He asked me. The question broke my heart. He was 18 years old, legally an adult, about to leave for college. But he was still asking me what to do, still trusting my judgment. "That's not my choice, Danny. It's yours." He turned back to Jennifer. "Why did you come back now?" "Because I saw what an incredible person you've become. And I realized I've missed everything. I don't want to miss anymore. You missed everything because you chose to." "I know. Uncle Marcus didn't miss anything. He was always here. I know that too." Danny was quiet for a long time. "Then I don't know you. You're like someone from a dream I can't quite remember. It's confusing." "I understand," Jennifer said. "And I don't expect you to feel anything right now. I'd like a chance to get to know you, if you're willing." He looked at me again. I wanted to tell him to say no, that she didn't deserve it, that you can't just abandon someone and expect them to welcome you back. But I also knew that anger was my feeling, not his. And Danny deserved to make his own choice. It's okay, I said quietly. Whatever you decide. Danny agreed to have coffee with her before he left for Stanford. Just coffee. 1 hour, I drove him. There, a small cafe near the university, and waited in the parking lot. He'd asked me to stay close. Just in case, I watched through the window as they sat across from each other. Jennifer talked a lot. Danny mostly listened, occasionally responding. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see her crying. At one point, see him sitting very still in that way he did when he was overwhelmed but trying to hold it together. After exactly 1 hour, he stood up and walked out. She didn't follow. How was it? I asked as he got in the car. Strange, he said. She kept apologizing. She said she wants to visit me at Stanford. She gave me her phone number. Are you going to call her? I don't know. He was quiet as I pulled out of the parking lot. Then she said she followed my accomplishments. She said she was proud of me. How did that make you feel? He thought about it. Empty. Pride is supposed to mean something, right? But if you're not there for the hard parts, is it real? I didn't have an answer for that. I don't think I want her to visit, he continued. Not yet. Maybe not ever? Is that wrong? No, buddy. It's not wrong. She's my biological mother. That doesn't mean you owe her anything. He nodded slowly. Marcus? Yeah. Can I still call you on Sundays when I'm at Stanford? My throat tightened. Of course, every Sunday I'll be waiting. Danny left for Stanford in September. I helped him move into his dorm, met his roommate, a friendly kid from Texas who seemed genuinely excited to live with him, and set up his side of the room exactly how he needed it. We went over his schedule 3 times, made sure he knew where all his classes were, reviewed his plan for meals and laundry and managing his sensory needs. When it was time to say goodbye, I hugged him longer than I probably should have. He tolerated it, even though hugs still weren't really his thing. You're going to do amazing, I told him. Statistically, there's a 23% chance I'll struggle with the transition. Then we'll deal with it. We always do. He pulled back and looked at me. Really looked at me in that rare way where his eyes met mine directly. Thank you, he said, for everything. You don't have to thank me. Yes, I do. You didn't have to do any of this. But you did. You stayed. I had to look away. I love you, Danny. That's what you do for people you love. I love you too, he said. Not easily, the words still didn't come naturally to him, but genuinely. I cried the whole drive home. Jennifer called me 2 weeks later. He won't return my calls, she said. No greeting, just straight to it. I've tried 6 times. He blocks my emails. Maybe he needs space. He's had space for 18 years, Marcus. No, you've had space. He's had abandonment. She was quiet. Then I thought if I gave him time, he'd come around. But he won't even give me a chance. He gave you a chance. He met you for coffee. You got 1 hour after 14 years of absence? That's more than fair. I'm his mother. No, you're the woman who gave birth to him. There's a difference. That's cruel. It's honest. I sighed, suddenly exhausted. Jen, what did you expect? That you'd show up and he'd just forget everything? That's not how it works. I know I made mistakes. You didn't make mistakes. You made a choice. You chose yourself over your son. And that's fine, maybe you had to. But you don't get to be surprised that there are consequences. I want to make it right. You can't. You can't get those years back. You can't undo the damage. So what? I just give up. I just accept that I'll never have a relationship with my son. Maybe. Or maybe you respect that he gets to decide what kind of relationship, if any, he wants with you. And maybe you live with that, even if it hurts. She hung up. Danny called every Sunday, like clockwork. He told me about his classes, his research, the friends he was making slowly, carefully, in his own way. He was happy. Not perfectly adjusted, not without struggles, but happy. He never mentioned Jennifer. She called me periodically, sometimes angry, sometimes sad, sometimes trying to strategize ways to reach him. I mostly listened, said little. What was there to say? On his 19th birthday, she sent him a package. Expensive gifts, a new laptop, books, a card filled with words about regret and love. And hoping for a second chance, he donated the laptop to the library and threw away the card. Don't you want to read it? I asked when he told me. No, I know what it says. She's sorry, she loves me. She wants to be in my life, but words are just patterns of sound. They don't mean anything without action. She had 19 years to act. She didn't. He was so clinical about it, so detached. I wondered if that was his autism or his way of protecting himself. Probably both. Jennifer showed up at Stanford during his sophomore year. Unannounced. Danny called me in the middle of the day, his voice tight. She's here on campus. She found me after class. What do you want to do? I don't know. She's crying. People are staring. Do you want to talk to her? Silence. Then no, but she won't leave. Put her on the phone. A moment later, Jennifer's voice. Marcus, you need to leave. I just want to talk to him. He doesn't want to talk to you. You're making a scene and you're stressing him out. Leave, now. I flew all the way here. That's your problem, not his. You don't get to ambush him. If you don't leave, I'll call campus. She was crying. Why are you doing this? I'm his mother. No, you're not. You gave that up. Leave him alone. I heard muffled voices, then Danny came back on. She left, he said. She's gone. Are you okay? I will be. A pause. I don't think I want her in my life, Marcus. Not now, maybe not ever. Is that okay? Yes, I said. It's absolutely okay. He graduated summa cum laude at 21. Double major in mathematics and computer science. Multiple job offers from tech companies and research institutions. He chose a position at a think tank in Boston. Good pay, interesting work, accommodations for his needs. I flew out for graduation. Jennifer was there too. I saw her in the crowd, standing alone, watching. Danny saw her too. He didn't acknowledge her. At the reception afterward, she approached us. Danny, she said. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. He looked at her with those dark, analytical eyes. Thank you, he said politely. Nothing more. I've been hoping we could talk. No, thank you. Please. I just want 5 minutes. No. Danny, I've heard everything you have to say. You're sorry. You want a relationship. You love me. I understand all of that. But I don't want it. I don't want you in my life. You weren't there when it mattered. And now that it's easy, now that I'm successful and independent, you want to claim me. But I'm not yours to claim. I'm my own person. And I choose who gets to be part of my life. I choose Marcus. I don't choose you. Jennifer's face crumpled. Please don't say that. You're my son biologically, yes. In every other way that matters, no. He turned to me. Can we go? I nodded, and we walked away. Behind us, I heard Jennifer crying. Part of me felt bad for her. Part of me, DID in single quotes T. Mostly, I just felt tired. Years passed. Danny thrived. He bought a small house in Boston, adopted a cat named Euler, published papers that I couldn't begin to understand. He was still himself, still needed routines, still struggled with certain social situations, still preferred facts to feelings. But he was happy. He had a life he built on his own terms. I retired from the library at 65. Danny insisted I come visit for a week. We fell into an easy routine. Coffee in the morning, walks along the Charles River, dinners where he'd tell me about his work, and I'd tell him about the garden I was trying to grow. He'd gotten better at conversation over the years, still direct, still literal, but better. One evening, as we sat on his back porch watching the sunset, he said, "She still emails me. I didn't have to ask who. How often?" "Once a month. Always the same thing. She's sorry. She loves me. She wants to talk. Do you ever respond?" "No." He was quiet for a moment. "Does that make me a bad person?" "No, Danny, it doesn't. I don't hate her," he said. "I don't feel much of anything toward her, actually." "Is that worse?" "I don't think it's better or worse. It just is." He nodded slowly. "Do you think she ever stop?" "I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Some people can't accept that they don't get a second chance." "Second chances have to be earned?" "Yes, they do." He looked at me then, his expression softer than usual. "You earned yours every day, even when it was hard." "Even when I was hard? You were never too hard, Danny?" "Statistics would suggest otherwise." A small smile. "But thank you for everything. I know I don't say it enough, but I need you to know you saved my life. Not metaphorically, literally. Without you, I don't know where I'd be. Probably not here." I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. "I mean it," he continued. "You gave me stability when I had none. You fought for me when everyone else wanted to give up. You saw me as a person, not a problem. That's not a small thing. You're my son," I managed. "In every way that matters." "I know. And you're my dad." He'd never called me that before. Not once in all the years. I lost it then. Just completely broke down, crying on his back porch while he sat there, uncomfortable but present, waiting for me to pull myself together. "Sorry," I said finally, wiping my eyes. "Didn't mean to make this awkward." "It's not awkward. Emotional expression is healthy. You taught me that." I laughed through the tears. "Did I?" "Among other things." We sat in comfortable silence as the sun finished setting. The air was cool, the city quiet for once. "I'm glad you stayed," Danny said quietly. "Me too, buddy." "Me too." Jennifer passed away when Danny was 31. Heart attack. Sudden that her sister called to tell us. There was a funeral in Seattle. Danny didn't go. I asked if he wanted me to, if he wanted closure, some final chance to say goodbye. "No," he said. "There's nothing to say." A few weeks later, we received a letter from her estate. She'd left everything to Danny, not much, but some savings, personal items, photographs. The photographs were what got to him. Pictures of him as a baby, as a toddler. Pictures I'd never seen. Her holding him in the hospital, both of them looking exhausted but whole. Him on his first birthday, chocolate cake all over his face, her smiling behind him. "She loved me," he said, looking through them in my living room. "Back then. She really loved me." "I think she always loved you," I said gently. "She just didn't know how to be your mother. Love without action is just an idea. Maybe, but ideas matter too sometimes." He set the photos down. "I don't forgive her, but I'm not angry anymore either. I'm just sad for both of us. For what we could have been but weren't. That's a healthy way to look at it, is it?" "I think so." He picked up one more photo of him at maybe 5 years old before she left. They were at a park, both of them smiling. A moment of happiness before everything fell apart. "I'm keeping this one," he said, "to remember that it wasn't all bad. That there was something good, even if it didn't last. That's mature of you. I learned from the best." He looked at me. "Thank you for not making me hate her. You could have. It would have been easy. But you didn't. Hate's too heavy to carry around. I figured you had enough to deal with. He smiled, a real, genuine smile. I'm lucky I ended up with you. I'm the lucky one, Danny. I'm 73 now. Danny's 36. He visits every few months, calls every Sunday still. Like clockwork, he's seeing someone, a woman named Sarah, who works at his think tank. She's patient, kind, doesn't mind his quirks. They move slowly, carefully. I think it might be serious. He asked me last week what I think about him, maybe being a father someday. What if I mess it up? He said, what if I can't give a kid what they need? You'll figure it out, I told him. Same way I did. Same way anyone does. You do your best and you love them and you show up. That's all any kid really needs. You made it look easy. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. He smiled. Yeah, I think it would be. Sometimes I think about Jennifer, about her life, her choices, her regrets. I wonder if she died thinking Danny hated her. I hope not. I hope she understood that absence isn't the same as hatred, that indifference can sometimes be a form of peace. I don't know if I did the right thing, keeping him from her all those years. Maybe I should have pushed harder for reconciliation. Maybe I let my own hurt get in the way, but then I look at Danny stable, successful, happy in his own unique way, and I think maybe it worked out how it needed to. Maybe some people are meant to be in your life and some people aren't, and no amount of biology or guilt or wanting can change that. He's mine. He's been mine since that gray morning when she drove away and didn't look back. Not because I took him, but because I stayed. Through the hard parts and the impossible parts and the parts where I didn't think either of us would make it, I stayed. And that, in the end, made all the difference.